Brotherhood, also known as Hamas, which Muslim Brotherhood started in Egypt in 1928 by Albania. They started Hamas in 1987, and CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, their PR firm, their propaganda firm, I would say. CARE was started in 1994. Usama came to America and has been warning Americans for years about, well, what is now unfolding before our very eyes. And finally, somebody is pushing back, and that somebody would be Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, and the President of the United States, Donald Trump. President Trump has signed executive orders demanding that these pro-Hamas agitators and protest organizers that are not U.S. citizens, that they are booted out of the country. And now here's a headline from our friend Daniel Greenfield, who also happens to be Jewish, says Dems rally for Columbia University jihadist whose group endorsed Hamas and murder of Jews. That's just one headline today. We have another one that has to do with a judge, Jerusalem Post, judge to hold hearing about Mohammed Khalil's challenge to arrest. The hearing is expected to deal mostly with scheduling matters. Lawyers for both sides said in a joint court filing on Tuesday evening. I guess one of my questions would be, how does this young man have the money to fight the U.S. government? Where is he coming up with the money to fight the U.S. government? I think we know, don't we? Or can at least pretty well speculate. Joining me now to talk about this and a lot more, including more Christians being slaughtered in Syria. And who's coming to their aid? Israel and Russia. Wow. Think about that again, folks. The Jewish state of Israel is coming to the defense of Christians. Now, where are all the so-called Christian anti-Semites? Candace Owens, Stu Peters. That's, I believe, what they are. Tucker Carlson. Where are these people? The so-called Christians who trash Israel and the Jews all the time, or at least give a platform to those that do. Where are they? Why are they not on social media thanking Israel for stepping in to protect the Christians? And then, of course, they're slaughtering the Alawite Muslims, which are really, as Sharam explained the other night, really non-Muslims. They don't believe in fully following the prophet, and they don't want to be involved in jihad. They're really what Usama taught us years ago are called hypocrites in the Islamic faith and are worthy to be murdered right along with the apostates, the infidels, the Christians, the Jews. Joining us now is Usama Dakdog. Usama, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Brandon. It's always good to be with you and all your wonderful audience.
Let's start up with this, before we go to Syria, let's start up with this guy organizing at Columbia University, jihadist whose group endorsed Hamas and murder of Jews. How is this young man coming up with the money to fight the U.S. government's desire to remove him from the country? How is he affording that, my friend?
Well, years ago, he used to get the money from Saudi Arabia. But I believe for the last 15 years, only God knows. I think from the early days of Obama, they get all their funds here in America. There are plenty of brainwashed, useful, idiot liberals who will give not just money, they actually will donate blood to help the Muslims to destroy America. And by the way, you said something earlier, Brandon, you said they are citizens. No, there is no such a thing as Muslim citizen. It is the biggest propaganda, it's the biggest hogwash lies, and we believe in America. How can a foreigner person become a Muslim? Oh, they give an oath. So they raise the right hand and say, I pledge allegiance. What does the Quran teach in Quran chapter 2 and verse 225 Muslims to do? They can lie when they give us an oath, as long as they don't mean it in their hearts. As Allah stated, Allah will not hold you responsible for your mere utterance and an oath. So if you say it but you didn't mean it, it's fine. So, Brennan, to say there's Muslim American or American Muslim, that's an oxymoron. It's like, say, a Christian non-believer. Well, you cannot be a Christian if you're not a believer in Christ. Or you can say, I'm a Republican Democrat. You cannot be a Republican if you're a Democrat. So it doesn't matter, really. If there is any Muslim in America are doing the activities like that gentleman or others, even if they were born in America, because believe it or not, some of them are becoming citizens in many ways, but there are plenty of them are born right now. That does not make you a citizen. You are committing a crime. You should be punished for it. And the best thing you do is just send them back to where they come from. Ask, where your grandpa from? Oh, he's from Egypt. Send them back to Egypt. Where your grandpa is from? From Iraq. Send them back to Iraq. It doesn't matter what country they came from. They don't belong to America.
And where is this guy from? Where's this Mohammed Khalil from? Where's he from?
I have no idea. I've not investigated to get in depth to where he was born. But as I said, it makes no difference if he was born in Washington D.C. If he was born in Abraham Lincoln bedroom, it doesn't matter. He is doing what we call jihad movement in America. He needs to get out. Him and send with him also his friends and his buddies. Even if you could not find any crime on them, because Muslims are professional deceivers, they're professional liars. They can pretend to be everything you imagine them to be, when in reality they are just Muslims.
Well, he is a Palestinian origin, says the Jerusalem Post. Came to the United States on a visa, student visa, in 2022, and became a permanent resident last year. Was arrested on Saturday evening by the Department of Homeland.
How do you become a permanent resident of America if you are coming as a student to take a student visa? Student visa is limited for 3 or 4 years, finish your school and you leave. But here's the problem. You and I talked about that, Brennan, 15 years ago. They gave them a visa to come to America as a student. They never return back to their country. They fall in love with our daughters and our granddaughters and marry them and become citizens. That's what it is. It is just a piece of paper to bring them here to America. It doesn't matter what name you want to put on that piece of paper. Business visa, visit visa, student visa, whatever, propaganda visa. They're here to stay. They're here to take over.
Mm. So a judge who is an appointee of Barack Obama has the authority to order Khalil released from detention if he finds his rights were violated, according to the legal experts. Even if he is released, deportation proceedings nonetheless continue in a separate immigration court. I'll go back over to my friend Daniel Greenfield's article. He provided a tweet where a Hamas leader, here are 2 examples of a Hamas leader giving directions to college pro-Hamas groups like the one that Mohammed Khalil was part of at Columbia University to aid in their flood terrorist campaign. This is why the Trump administration says that coordinating with Hamas is why the group's coordinating with them. So one would have to wonder, is Hamas pumping money over here to these students? And maybe this is how they afford attorneys to fight the U.S. government.
Well, if you think Hamas is the one who supported this man financially, who supported Hamas? It was Mr. O'Biden. So it's money coming from America, going to Gaza, come back to America. It doesn't matter really. If you follow the money, there are plenty. George Soros may give him a few $1 million and his other students like him. I mean, the money coming from American liberals, or it doesn't matter. To be honest with you, I guarantee you, don't forget we sent $22 million to Hamas to buy condoms so they don't have enough babies. Obviously, none of these millions is used for having condoms. They use to do stuff like that. So why not?
Yeah, when we get into the USAID and we're finding billions of dollars, so he may be getting taxpayer money that's been funneled to groups and then moved around and cleaned up until it can go into a guy like this for his defense, even if he doesn't pay it directly. Someone or some organization pays it for him. Of course, this brings us to another article over at the Al Jazeera website. Trump administration announces new anti-Semitism investigations into 55 universities. It's not just Columbia. Now they're going to go after 55 universities that have not been addressing the issue of anti-Semitism on their campuses. By the way, did you ever think you'd see this happen? I mean, I really did think Donald Trump would get reelected. I thought the fraud would be so overwhelming, but apparently it was too big to rig. So first of all, I didn't expect us to be here. I'm thankful we are, But number two, did you ever think you'd see this? I mean, you and I have been talking for so long that someone would be taking the bull by the horns like this. I mean, they're sounding like Usama Dakdak in some ways.
Well, what they're doing in America is exactly what I used to teach with you for years, and the people in America used to roll their eyes like, wait a minute, this will never happen.
That's so true.
This will never be.
So true.
And guess what? I don't have to worry about terrorism anymore. Let the Muslims say it directly to the American people.
Yep. So 55 institutions, public and private in total, that were not included in the administration's February announcement of 5 investigations of anti-Semitism at Columbia University, Northwestern University, Portland State University, University of California, Berkeley, and University of Minnesota.
Brandon, let me save you a lot of headache. If you find MSA, that is Muslim Student Association, in any college in America, you know that the cancer of Islam is already there. And guess what? They're in every college in America. As a matter of fact, lately they're moving to high schools. So every high school will have a group. It's called MSA. These are the Muslim Student Association, which J.D. Greer, the president of the Southern Baptist Convention, met with and have conversation with and have dialogue with, and he made them a wonderful group. They actually changed Campus Crusades to Career, whatever new names they give, because the name Campus Crusade was a little bit offensive to the Muslims, and they are going to be in every high school in America, which means the propaganda you see in college will be in every city in America.
You know, you bring up a very good point there, my friend. When you brought up the president of the Southern Baptist Convention, J.D. Greer, he wrote a book, you know, talking about basically that Christians and Muslims worship the same God. You and I both know that's not true. But isn't that interesting that the Southern Baptist Convention has been flooded with Masons? Not all Shriners are Masons, but not all Masons are Shriners, but all Shriners are Masons, and the Shriner is the top level. And as you very well know, at the top level, they have their little red fez with the crescent moon and the sword of Islam, which denotes the dipping of those hats in the blood of the Christians that were martyred. And isn't it interesting, at the highest levels of Freemasonry, the Shriners, they swear an oath to Allah. So I want you to, on the other side of the break, answer this. If the Southern Baptist Convention, many of their deacons and biggest donors and church members and leadership perhaps, they're either members of Freemasonry and or okay with it because they tried to, the good Southern Baptist pastors, many of them tried to pass a resolution, I think it was 1993, condemning Freemasonry at their national convention, but the Masons who attended Southern Baptist churches flooded the convention, and I guess they ended up passing some resolution to the aspect of there are certain parts of Freemasonry consistent with Christianity. So should we be shocked if they're swearing an oath to Allah if they're also for interfaith dialogue? We're not changing courses. Now, we are who we are. We're committed to the truth that we are committed to. Worldview Tube is a broadcast network that I started in 2006, but it's based on my 35 years as an author and speaker and commentator. Worldview Tube is here to defend the truth of a Christian worldview. And we believe we can apply it to all areas of life, like law, science, economics, history, family, social issues, education, religion, major issues.
At worldviewtube.com, we provide news from around the globe that isn't typically covered by mainstream media. Visit worldviewtube.com to watch our experts and analysts discuss all your favorite topics on our 24/7 live stream. Explore our extensive collection of unfiltered and uncensored content from 35 years of production. Go to worldviewtube.com today. Also find us on all of these major platforms and download our Worldview Tube mobile app.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com, worldviewradio.com. So should we be shocked that some of the biggest Protestant church denominations are talking about Muslims and Christians worshiping the same God when many of them are involved in Freemasonry? And at the highest levels of Freemasonry, the Shriners wear the little red hat with the little red fez and the sword of Islam and the crescent moon and actually swear an oath to Allah. I mean, there you go. No wonder so many of these denominations don't oppose what's happening with Christians in other countries by Muslims, nor do they oppose interfaith dialogue that Christians and Muslims worship the same God, because many of them in our Protestant churches are swearing an oath to Allah when they join the Shriners. Usama? Did we lose Usama?
Yes, I said what I said, Brother Brandon. Here's the truth. The scripture is very clear in Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Lots of Baptist deacons and elders and whatever positions they have no knowledge whatsoever about Islam. To the point that I have talked to some of these people you're talking about who serve as deacons in our Baptist churches 20-some years ago when I was in school, 22 years ago to be exactly. And they said, Shriners are wonderful people. Look what they do with children. Look what they do here. Look what they do there. And I could not even pass through with a sentence or two because they just look at me like I'm a nutcase guy, and they don't see anything wrong with Shriners. And the same people who see the goodness in the Shriners obviously do not know anything about the history of the Shriners, what they have done to the Christians, how they made this hats they wear red because of the blood of the Christians. That alone should ring a big bell for everyone who join or see something good about Shriners. And I say shame on the Baptist Church that we do not stand up to do what is right. And I guarantee you, if they will take a vote and remove these people from the Southern Baptist, there will not be Southern Baptist Church left in America.
Well, I know pastors that have told me to my face that if they confronted this in their church, they'd lose their job. Others have lost their job. Ron Carlson used to tell stories of Southern Baptist pastors that would take this on and said, I'm prepared to lose my job over this. And one church that Ron would talk about, the pastor brought him in to speak. Some of the Masons didn't want him there when they found out what was on his book table in the foyer, came into the pastor's study with Ron and said, what's going on here? And Ron said, hey, guys, you come tonight, I'll be speaking on this. If there's one thing I'm saying that's not true, challenge me. But I'm going to be teaching about Freemasonry and the Shriners from your own authorities. At the end of the evening, those men met back again with Ron and the pastor. They resigned from being Masons, and then they even brought in the equipment to chisel the Freemasonry logo off their cornerstone of their church. And Ron says after that church was set free, revival broke out. That church exploded in growth.
Amen. And we need that. We need that in every church in America. And by the way, all these churches which have some Shriners members or Masonry members will not welcome somebody like me to come and speak. And I'm not joking about it. They would prefer to have some Muslim imam to talk about how wonderful we worship the same God. Allah and God is one. And there's so much put us together in common than these things which separate us. And that's why they will never learn the truth about what Islam is from somebody like me, period. End of story.
Well, here's an article by Jason Carlson. This is Ron's son, Jason. Should Christians join the Masonic Lodge? It's an article he wrote. You guys just put that into a search engine, you'll find it. Should Christians join the Masonic Lodge by Jason Carlson? You'll find it. He writes, quote, to be initiated into the shrine, to become a Shriner, as part of their blood oath, at the altar of initiation, the Shriner must bow down with his hands tied behind his back and swear an oath in the name of Allah, the God of our fathers. That's a direct quote. Quote, Allah, the God of our fathers, end quote. Now, it's important, writes Jason, to remember that the Islamic God, Allah, is in no way connected to the true God of the Bible. Allah is a pagan, Arabic deity. Allah is a false God. Allah is not the God of Judaism and Christianity. And Allah's prophet, Muhammad, was a false prophet who has led millions of people astray. There you go. So Jason Carlson lays it out, you know, and that's not to mention the fact that he also wrote, when the Mason finally reaches what's called the Royal Arch degree of the York Rite, they're told who the true God of Masonry really is. They're given the name of the God that was lost during the building of Solomon's temple and the secret name of the God of Masonry. It is Jeobalan. The name Jeobalan comes from a combination of three deities. Jah stands for Yahweh or Jehovah. Bol is a rendering of the name of the Canaanite god Baal. And On is the Babylonian name of the Egyptian god Osiris. And this three-headed monster, this union of Yahweh, Baal, and Osiris is supposedly the one true God above all other gods, whose identity was lost, but has been recovered by the Masons. Jason writes, as I noted earlier, to anyone with a discerning mind, it's clear that the Masonic Lodge is steeped in the occult. The identity of the true God revealed in the blasphemous Masonic Trinity is the ultimate verification of this fact, whether the Mason realizes it or not. The God of Freemasonry is none other than Satan himself, end quote. Is it any wonder then, whether they're defending Islam, defending interfaith dialogue with Islamists, part of the Freemasonry, part of the Shriners, is it any wonder, it's my opinion, not condemning all Southern Baptist churches, but it is any wonder that the Southern Baptist Convention as a whole is in rapid decline? If your leadership is swearing an oath to Satan, how well is that going to go for your national headquarters, Usama?
It will not go far, brother Brandon. The level of ignorancy among literally the normal people who come to our churches, Southern Baptist churches, is beyond measure. There's nowhere you can imagine that their church have some knowledge about Islam and these cults. I mean, how can the Bible is very clear, separate from them. We're, according to the letters of John, we're not supposed to greet them. We're not supposed to say, well, peace back to you. How in the world we can be in unity with all those cults and expect that God's going to bless our churches and we have revival? The revival will take place if we separate from the world. And sadly, we've got too many people in our churches who are in these cults. And I don't know, will it ever take place in a church in America? Are we going to have a big division in the Southern Baptist so we can have some literally good Christian remnant out of this denomination? Only God knows.
Well, I do know Revelation 17:1 tells us of a false global church. It describes the great harlot that sits on many waters. Many waters represents, I believe, as others do, the coming out of really the nations, the Gentile nations. So a false global dominant church, the great harlot that sits on many waters, not to be confused with there's a scene change and John is taken away in the spirit into the wilderness and sees a woman sitting on a scarlet beast. Two different entities. The great harlot who sits on many waters is different from the woman that sits on the beast. The first is a false dominant global church led by a false prophet who is introduced in Revelation chapter 13. We introduced on Sunday night in my series that I'm teaching through the book of Revelation. Continue that Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central at worldviewtube.com. But there's going to be a global false prophet, and he's going to be aligned with Antichrist. Now, what's interesting is the word anti does not necessarily have to mean against. If you go to the original meaning of the word anti, let me see if I can pull up my PowerPoint on this and show it to you real quick. Because if you go to that, what you find out is that the word in the original can mean in place of. In place of. Let's see here. I think I have it. Let's see. No, that's next week. I've already gotten a little bit of studying done on next week already. Here we go. Here it is. All right. So if we go to, say, 1 John chapter 2, verse 18. Little children, it is the last hour. And as you have heard, the Antichrist is coming. Even now, many Antichrists have come, by which we know that it is the last hour. Well, you could go to 2 John. You could go to 1 John 4, 2 through 3, 1 John 2, 22. We have several passages where John uses the term Antichrist. Well, we'll just go with 1 John chapter 2, verse 18. And when you take that verse, and you can, and I want to teach all of you, I've done this before, but I'll teach it again. You go to Bible Hub, H-U-B, BibleHub.com. You just put in the verse you want, and then you can get a commentary, but you can also get a lexicon. You can get the original meaning in Hebrew or in Greek. So if you put in 1 John chapter 2, verse 18, you come up with Strong's Concordance, and it says that the Antichrist is from the word anti or anti and Christos. And when you go to Strong's Concordance, number 473, it says the word anti, or as an antichrist, means instead of, in place of, in exchange for, as a substitute for. So the point I made on Sunday night, I'll make here is Satan is not against religion. He's for religion. I love the quote by Vance Havner. The devil's not fighting religion. He's too smart for that. He's producing a counterfeit Christianity so much like the real thing that good Christians are afraid to speak out against it. For fear they might be fighting God, is actually what he said. So Satan is creating a false global religious system that will be a harlot church led by a false prophet, and then will arise an antichrist who will not be against religion. He will just be, the false prophet and antichrist will be pushing forth something in exchange of the Christ of the Bible, the deity of Christ. It will be a substitute for. I believe in many regards, many of our Protestant denominations already have kicked Jesus of the Bible, Christ, out of their churches and denominations and have chosen a Jesus or a Christ that is a substitute. So would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And it all starts with just having a nice conversation with Muslims or any of these other cults, and that would delude the church, make us not the church to be set apart for Christ because we're not doing what's right, which will lead off to and the Antichrist in First John is very clear. All those who, every spirit does not believe or denies that Christ came in the flesh, and that's all Muslims, all Shriners who have any ties with Muslims. So put all these people in the church with Islam movement or interfaith movement, and you change the church to something else, a replacement or against. Either way, you can take it either way.
Either way. What's very interesting is that Jason Carlson, in his study on the Shriners and Freemasonry, he went on. Let me bring it back up here. He went on to talk about one of the gods that they swear an allegiance to, and it is Abaddon, which comes out of Revelation, ironically, as well. And it is one of the chief demons. It's one of the chief demons that you find in the book of Revelation. In fact, here it is. I found the quote. He says this: as you progress through the degrees of Masonry to any discerning mind, it becomes really apparent who the God of Freemasonry truly is. On the way to discovering the true identity of God, in the Mason, in the 17th degree of the Scottish Rite, is first given a secret password and a sacred word that will allow them to continue their progression through the degrees of the lodge. This sacred word of Masonry is Abaddon. Who is Abaddon? Well, in Revelation chapter 9, verse 11, God tells us who Abaddon is. Abaddon is the king of the demons in the pit of hell. And the name of this demon king is the sacred word needed by all Masons to advance in degrees so that they might discover the true identity of God, end quote. So folks, there is a false religious system being set up. Most of our Protestant churches in America have fallen into it one way or another, which is one reason why many of them are silent when real Christians are slaughtered in Syria. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio website is worldviewradio.com, worldviewradio.com. All right, let's switch over here to Syria. One reason the churches in America and around the world are so silent, Christian churches, Protestant churches, about what's happening to the Christians in Syria or the persecution of Christians in other parts of the world, particularly when it comes to Islam, is they don't really know what to say, Usama, because if they have taken an oath to Satan and join the Masons or the Shriners. And at the lower level, I just want to make it very clear, at the lower level, a lot of those guys have no idea what they're doing. So if you're saying, but my daddy went to that, my granddad went to that, he wasn't serious. He went to the lower level and then he kind of dropped out. Well, then he really didn't know what he was doing for the most part. I mean, the initiation should have been a little bit of a clue when they make you put on a blindfold and kneel before the worshipful master and say you're lost in darkness and need the light of Freemasonry to help you. That should be a clue, which for some it is, and they never go back. But even Albert Pike, who was one of the leading authorities for Freemasonry, wrote so many years ago that the truth, the real goal, is withheld until you reach a higher degree within the lodge and Freemasonry. So some of them don't know what's going on.
What make it a 100% a cult. There's a secretism in it. Why we have secrets in any organization within the church?
Amen.
Where can we
Why
find
secrets?
any support from the Bible for that? And Brandon, I think the Lord is blessing America to see the persecution of the Christian in the Middle East and the Muslim world, one country after another, and we're not learning a thing out of it. Not only we're not speaking for the Christians of Egypt and the Christian of Syria and the Christian of Cambodia and all these where Christians are slaughtered every day. We're not learning and listening for ourselves here in America. And I believe we will plant, what we plant is exactly what we're going to harvest. So today, we're not speaking on the behalf of the Christians who are persecuted in the Muslim world. Tomorrow, nobody is going to speak on our behalf, as we will be crushed in America by the Muslims, whom we bring to this country without any common sense or any acknowledgement of what they're doing to themselves. One Sunni against Shia, and Shia against Alawi, and Alawi against Ahmadi, and what they're doing to the Christians.
Well, how can these groups really speak up about it if they've been so pro-Muslim, so interfaith dialogue, so hey, kumbaya, and they've taken an oath to Satan, as we heard from Jason Carlson, read from that, or to Allah at the higher levels of the Shriners? I mean, why would they even want to worry about real Christians? And of course, why would they want to discuss Muslims slaughtering Christians in any part of the world, much less what we encountered in 2017 with James White and Yasser Qadi, when they've been all going around telling us how wonderful the Muslim leadership is? No wonder they're silent about what's happening to the poor Syrian Christians in Syria. Usama?
And believe me, Brian, even if they have the opportunity to go there and speak in these churches, they still have in the back of their brain, oh, these are the radicals. These are the extremists. This has nothing to do with Islam. After all, we got Imam Yasser in our church or some other Muslim in the interfaith meeting. And they were wonderful people. I have so many arguments with American people. Just 2 days ago, in a business here locally in Missouri, where the lady said, I have no problem with Muslims. They're wonderful people. I said, that's what is the problem. It's you, not the Muslims. It is people like you who have no problem with the Muslims. So I said to her, do you have any problem for some man to kill your husband, to rape you and your daughter? And she said, yeah. I said, that is Muslim believers who do and what they do. And I said, have you ever read the Quran? No. Have you ever studied any books written by Christian or ex-Muslims? No. I said, that is a problem. Your ignorance of Islam. And that's not just that lady. It's plenty of people all over our churches.
And now we have, thankfully, Israel coming to the defense of these Syrians, Christians, and Alawats that are being slaughtered, and did 9 bombings the night before last. And we've got video footage now of Russia with one of their bases there in Syria. There's about 7,000 or 8,000 of them that are taking shelter there, being protected by Russia of all nations. Again, where are the anti-Semites in America, so-called Christian anti-Semites, saying, well, at least I have to thank Israel for protecting the Christians in Syria? Are we going to hear anything from Candace Owen or any of the rest of these people thanking Israel for protecting the Christians in Syria?
Maybe, Brandon, these people do not know that there are Christians are crushed in Syria as well as in other 56 Muslim countries. And I wish I can see a church in America, just generally, have a special prayer next Sunday for the persecuted Christian and literally go on our knee and beg God for his mercy, because I'm sorry, I don't see too many people in church even talk about the persecution of the Christians in the Middle East anymore. It's like this is the story of the past. Something's not happening today, and we're just so silent about to speak the truth about why this is happening. A, we do not know about it because the church does not speak about it. B, we're ignorant of it because we think Islam is nothing wrong with Islam. And C, we're bringing the Muslims to America. I mean, put all that together, what we see is happening in Syria, it will be in America in the near future.
We do have a new audio recording from Secretary of State Marco Rubio on this young man that they're looking at deporting, Mohammed Khalil. Here is Secretary Rubio.
Come to the United States as a visitor, which is what a visa is, which is how this individual entered this country, as on a visitor's visa. Okay, you are here as a visitor. We can deny you that visa. We can deny you that if you tell us when you apply, hi, I'm trying to get into the United States on a student visa. I am a big supporter of Hamas, a murderous, barbaric group that kidnaps children, that rapes teenage girls, that takes hostages, that allows them to die in captivity, that returns more bodies than live hostages. If you tell us that you are in favor of a group like this, and if you tell us when you apply for your visa, and by the way, I intend to come to your country as a student and rile up all kinds of anti-Jewish student, anti-Semitic activities, I intend to shut down your universities. If you told us all these things when you applied for a visa, we would deny your visa. I hope we would. If you actually end up doing that, once you're in this country on such a visa, we will revoke it. And if you end up having a green card, not citizenship, but a green card as a result of that visa while you're here in those activities, we're going to kick you out. It's as simple as that. This is not about free speech. This is about people that don't have a right to be in the United States to begin with. No one has a right to a student visa. No one has a right to a green card, by the way. So when you apply for a student visa, or any visa to enter the United States, we have a right to deny you for virtually any reason. But I think being a supporter of Hamas and coming into our universities and turning them upside down and being complicit in what are clearly crimes of vandalization, complicit in shutting down learning institutions. There are kids at these schools that can't go to class. You pay all this money to these high-priced schools that are supposed to be of great esteem, and you can't even go to class. You're afraid to go to class because these lunatics are running around with covers on their face, screaming terrifying things. If you told us that's what you intended to do when you came to America, we would have never let you in. And if you do it once you get in, we're going to revoke it and kick you out.
Yeah, very well said. Usama?
Absolutely. And by the way, all what Marco Rubio are describing in that specific students, he can apply to every Muslim believer who live in America. All of them. That's why I said years ago, and I repeat myself again today, it is illegal for Muslims to live in America. If you know what they believe, if you know the ideology and the doctrine of their so-called cult, the face of Islam, which is a cult, you know all Muslims believe that's to Americans. All Muslims believe to kill the Jews and the Christians. All Muslims are here to take over this country, not to do riots. Riots is the least I worry about. I'm talking about the beheading of the American men, the raping of the American woman. What you saw in Gaza, it will be in America. Just wait. Give them enough time to have the upper hand. Give them enough time to have plenty of people, and they will be doing that in America. And when that day comes, it will be too late for Marco Rubio or anybody in this country to fix it. It will be unfixable. It will be too late. The fire will be spread all over the country, and you cannot do anything about it.
1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions. 1-800-347-9829. Again, 1-800-347-9829. We will take your comments and or your questions. 1-800-347-9829. By the way, don't forget that on Tuesday evening, April 15th, myself, Dr. Andy Woods, and our reporter on the ground in Israel, Aaron Lavarco, will be at the Waukesha Expo Center. We've rented the building, and we're going to do a free Worldview Weekend rally. We've not done one in 7 years. We're back on the road to do that. We've chosen your area, listening friends, to be the first we come to. And it is free. We will take an offering to offset the cost of renting the building and flying in the speakers and giving them a reasonable honorarium and their airfare and flight cost. So we will take an offering. Please come prepared for that. If you would like to get a ticket, it's free, but you must register so that we can be sure to have a seat for you, okay? Because it's filling up, folks. Woo! We're going to have a big, big audience, a big group of you there. We're looking forward to it. You can get full details at worldviewtube.com/events. I think we have a lower third for that, worldviewtube.com/events. If you go there, please be sure when you register someone that you do it each and every time. So yourself, then you go back in and register your spouse or whoever you're bringing, your kids. We got to have everybody registered individually. You can use the same email address, but please register each individual by name, even if you use your same email address over and over, because that's how we denote seats. Okay, so if you register yourself and your spouse, and that's it, just one time, our computer system shows one. You may say, well, I put in 2 names in there, Mr. and Mrs. Well, our computer system only counts it as one. Okay, so you need to register twice so that our computer system's tagging it with a seat for all of you, okay? We don't want anyone standing if we can avoid that. Although we would like to have standing room only. That'd actually be a great problem to have. So again, that's on, but right now we're not going to look to have that happen. So again, worldviewtube.com/events, worldviewtube.com/events. And please tell your family and friends about it if you would. Usama, his website is thestraightway.org, thestraightway.org. And he's on VCY America every day, I think right before this program. And did Logan and you set it up where you're on with us every Saturday night on World YouTube, Usama?
I believe so. Saturday night from 9 to 10 Central. It is the first hour of our live stream with Worldview Weekend, where we talk about what's happening around the world, the current events week by week. So people will listen to us on that night for 1 hour.
And, VCY, Worldview Tube, we're some of the few groups that have the conviction and courage to actually carry you, Usama. Of course, VCY has the courage to carry me, so I'm not that I should be talking, but I'm just saying there are not a lot of groups that have the courage to carry you, Usama Dakdog, right?
We tried hard with other stations, but they say no, thank you. So praise God for VCY and for you. So that is where people can hear some truth about what's happening around the world and what's happening here in America.
Yeah, and part of what's happening here in America we see is in New Jersey. I guess they're declaring New Jersey, a town in New Jersey, be the American capital of Palestine. You heard that, New Jersey?
It's going to be a city in every state, and then going to be every. I mean, literally, it will continue to grow. It will never stop. If we stop Muslims coming to America, what we have in America is plenty enough, because these wonderful Muslims love to have lots of babies. What we have in America is plenty enough for taking over America within the next 30, 40 years.
Let's go to Mark, line 1. Mark in New Mexico. Thanks for calling in, Mark.
Hey,
Hi,
guys,
Mark.
I got to just say thank you guys both for bringing awareness to this insanity. It's really sad to see that Christians are just allowing this to happen to their faith. But Brandon, I'm so glad you brought up Bible Hub and the Strong's Concordance.
Yes.
And I wanted to point out one thing for you, Revelation 6:8, and it says, "Behold, a pale horse." And I wonder if you guys know, pale in the Strong's Concordance really means green.
Yes.
And if you combine that with the rest of the image here in this verse, the name that sat on this pale horse was death, and hell followed with him.
Yep, hold right there, Mark. Hold right there. We'll get to you.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHousebg.com.
Yeah, Mark makes a great point. Robert L. Thomas writes, the word to describe the fourth horse's color, pale green, is the color of grass and other vegetation. And he goes on to say that, but in the present connection, it designates the yellowish green of decay, the pallor of death. It's a pale green, ashen color that images a face bleached because of terror. It recalls a corpse in the advanced state of corruption. And I think it is, I think it was J. Vernon McGee, if I find the slide here in my presentation. J. Vernon McGee had something to say about this as well. The pale horse represents a plague and pestilence that will stalk the earth. It also encompasses the possibility of germ warfare. And when you start looking at all of, by the way, you start looking at all of the bioweapon centers around the world, all of a sudden it starts to become pretty scary. Mark, you'll make a comment before we move on?
Yeah, so I just wanted to point out, the power was given to them over the fourth of the earth to kill with the sword. And if you take that image of the green with the sword, that's the Muslim flag.
Yes, and a lot of people think that. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that either.
Muhammad loves the color green so badly that he even prescribed for 70 of those who were killed in the Battle of Uhud that Allah changed him to green birds, and they were actually living under the throne of Allah. And so green have a lot to do with Islam. You see the flag of Saudi Arabia, and because they were missing green. Everything is desert, and Muhammad was promised the Muslim in the garden, the green garden, and lots of water, lots of trees and plants. So and I can see sometimes, especially when you put Islam and the sword and the Book of Revelation, that the Christ will come back after the killing of the last person with the sword.
Yes, I was going to bring that part up, so thank you for doing that. The sword keeps making an appearance in Revelation so often. So again, one has to wonder the involvement of Islam in this as well. Absolutely. Great call, Mark, from New Mexico. John in Texas, line 2. Thanks for calling in, John.
Hi, Brandon. Thanks.
Hey, John.
Do you know when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated?
And it was in April, was it not?
Yeah. Well, I know it was on Good Friday. That's and I don't believe in coincidence. And Abraham Lincoln didn't have a sheepskin. And there's this huge homeschool movement. What we need now is a great big huge home church movement.
Well, that is growing. I can tell you right now, it is absolutely growing. I don't know to what degree. Well, we hear from a lot of our viewers and listeners on that one. There you go. David in South Florida. Hi, David, line 3.
Hey, good afternoon, Brandon. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you, David.
Hey, listen, I could be out in left field here, but I'm just thinking, and I want your thoughts on it. With President Trump basically telling Ukraine they're on their own and basically backing away from Europe and telling Europe you're on your own, when it comes to supporting Ukraine and all of the financial measures that are going on. Do you think it's possible that that is the impetus for a Eurocentric leader to arise that will seemingly have all the answers to the problems going on over there? And I'm just wondering, could we seeing something prophetic? And I think you know where I'm headed with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think a lot of this conflict out of Europe is going to lead us to a Eurocentric world government. Wars, plagues, pestilence, all these things that are happening, famine, financial markets. The head of the European Commission came out the other day and said that they are moving for the euro to a digital euro. These guys are so against free speech. They are so hostile to Christians. They are pro-Islamic. J.D. Vance, he lectured them, rightfully so, in Germany about this. I mean, if you want to talk about a field that is being conditioned for the fertile ground of a Eurocentric world government with an Antichrist, Europe is certainly it. So I would put all these things together and say, I think it's preparing the way for a Eurocentric world government and a tyrant. Absolutely. Let's see. And by the way, again, the false prophet who represents a false religious system, which obviously is in replacement of Christianity. And look at how the great churches of Europe have been turned into what, folks? Mosques. Their buildings have been turned into mosques, right? Let's go to Samuel, line 1. Hi, Samuel.
Yes, hi. I'd like to ask your guest, if I was traveling to the Middle East, how many countries can I go into with my Bible?
How many countries could he go into with his Bible, Usama, if he was traveling in the Middle East?
Well, in some of these Muslim countries, you can carry your own Bible, but the moment you open it and start sharing something out of it, with Muslims, or if you give it to a Muslim, for sure you'll be arrested. And that is because you're, and as they do it in a very wise way. We don't want to cause trouble in our country. We don't have a civil war. What happened is that Muslim man got the Bible and became a Christian. His family would retaliate, burning some churches and killing him and bringing chaos to the country. So just leave the Muslims, and in some countries, you can have your own Bible for yourself, but not to share with anybody.
David, line 2 in Nebraska. Hi, David.
Yeah, good afternoon. I've got a question for you, Sama. About 3 weeks ago, I was in Grand Island, Nebraska, and there's a lot of Muslims there. And so I get to witness to them every once in a while, but usually don't get the conversation going too long. But there were some Muslim women in this store, and one was separate from the other, and they were wearing the hijab and all that stuff. And I started talking to this particular woman, and she was probably 40. She looked me right in the eyes. She smiled. We had a conversation for about 30 minutes. And the whole time I was talking about Jesus and stuff. But my question is, why was she so willing to do that?
Well, Muslims are not the same. There are some Muslims who would listen to you, and she actually maybe go to the church as well to accommodate and be nice to you. But she maybe will require you to allow her to speak in the church. And that is one of the big moves. Normally, if she does not know too much about Islam, Christianity, she will not talk to you, especially if some male near her. Not all Muslims are the same, and I'm thankful for God that people like you will share the gospel with Muslims in America while we have a great chance to do so.
Beth emailed in a question. She wants to know, do you think the Shriners, since they seem to be so pro-Islam, are collecting any money and giving it to Islamic groups in America?
I'm sorry, Brent, what?
Do you think any of the Shriner groups are giving any money back to Islamic groups in America? They're so pro-Islamic. Are they giving any of that money back?
You know what? When you lose your standard, when you unite with any non-believers, everything goes. Everything goes. I do not have any problem to believe that Shriners support Muslims in America, especially they're doing a great job with children. They don't tell you if your daughter is a Muslima or your son is a Muslim, cannot go to the hospital and have the treatment.
That's our broadcast, thestraightway.org. Stay tuned for Crosstalk with Jim Schneider, folks. Take care. And that's our broadcast on those stations. We're back with WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida, and Usama Dakdock here on Worldview Tube. What's that? Oh, that's right. Usama's on radio. Thank you. So he can't join us because that means he's on the other line system out of Milwaukee, not our line system. All right. Well, that being said, look at that, folks. Look at what we just covered in about 55 minutes. And again, we're brought to you by you. There's not a lot of networks you're going to cover what we just covered, folks. They're spinning the albums, as they say, playing music, and doing a lot of Christian happy talk. They want as many nickels and noses as possible, and they're certainly not going to talk about these controversial things. A lot of Christian radio today, so-called Christian radio. Isn't that sad? So you're not going to get this in a lot of places. And I think you guys all know that. But here's the reality, folks. We've got to bring in over $40,000 a month just to cover our operational cost. And that does not include my salary. And I have to make a salary because I have bills too. That 40 grand is just my hard cost of the guys in the control room, all the insurance, the thousands of dollars in bandwidth, the thousands of dollars a month in IT, not only to keep developing out our platform, but to protect our platform and keep it protected from attacks. You just saw Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, and an IT guy had his site taken down for several hours up and down on Monday, right? So yes, we deal with the tax. We have to have full-time guys that do nothing but help, in part, deal with the tax or building it in a way to protect us from attacks so we can keep going. So I could sit here and go through all the bills, but I'm not gonna. I'm just going to tell you, I need your support. There's a couple of ways you can support us. One of them is to go right now, worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. We need your support. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, one of my favorite products is Bella Grace. Miss Melissa and now Logan are both taking Bella Trim. We're not only crazy about the elixir, but Melissa has done a huge study on the Bella Trim. And you know what she has found out? She has found out that and she did the homework on it, and we did an interview on it the other night, that it is great for regulating your blood pressure. It's good for lowering your bad cholesterol. The Bella Trim, the all-natural weight management, is also good for lowering your blood cholesterol, your bad cholesterol, lowering your blood pressure, optimizing your insulin. It's good for your cardiac health, improves your prebiotics, lowers inflammation. It's all backed by science. She is a big believer in these products, and she's the one that researched their products and the company and brought it to us. And that's why we call it melissahousebg.com for Bella Grace. So we've got the elixir, we've got the Bella Grace, we have this restorative sleep, which is an all-natural sleep aid made with about 10 different botanicals. She loves it because, again, her issue isn't so much falling asleep. It's when she gets waked up, she has a hard time getting back to sleep. So she takes 2 of these before she goes to bed, and it's certainly helping. I guess they have a new product coming out. I don't know what it is yet. They're all under non-disclosures, but we'll find out soon. But they do have the skincare, the Bella Grace skincare. Melissa loves that. So please check into all that. melissahousebg.com, melissahousebg.com. Now, again, if you go back to worldviewtube.com/sponsors, that's where you're going to find them all. worldviewtube.com/sponsors, getting yourself a satellite phone. So whether cell towers go down, electricity goes out, then you've got at least a way to communicate. Solar generators. I have the Delta Echo 400 solar generator. You can find all about that at worldviewtalk.com. Of course, our foundation is a huge way to support us, folks. Pushing out free radio, free TV, free articles. We got our Worldview Rally coming up that's free. We'll take an offering, but it's free. We need your support. We're only limited in our budgets, folks. We're only limited in our budgets, and we need your support. Please consider supporting us now. WorldviewFoundation.com, WorldviewFoundation.com. Another way you can support us also is the Vault. WorldviewTube.com/vault. This is 35 years of my books, documentaries, ebooks, audiobooks, radio shows, TV shows. They're in the Vault. And if you're a Vault member, guess what? You're going to be able to live stream the April 15th event. You're going to be able to live stream the April 15th event from Milwaukee, but only if you're a Vault member at worldviewtube.com/vault. We try to do a few special things. Pretty much 99% of what we do is available for everybody, keeping ministry front and center. But we do try to do a few special things for Vault members only to thank them for being a member of our Vault. So if you want to live stream the event on April 15th, Tuesday night with myself, Dr. Andy Woods, and Aaron Lavarco, join the Vault. Our national conference coming up this fall with myself, Alex Newman, Sidney Powell, Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen, I guess, Gordon Chang, Dr. Lana. You'll be able to live stream that if you're a Vault member. Plus, all of our past 21 years of our national conferences are there as well. worldviewtube.com/vault. So thank you for thinking of us in all these ways that help us generate the revenue we need to keep this network going. worldviewtube.com/vault. And again, if you're looking for all of our sponsors, you'll find them right there. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Thanks for listening. Till next time, I'm Brandon House. May God save America. Take care.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero.